Sahanavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vitvishavahay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Welcome back on our yatra, my dear fellow yatris. So we are in this amazing eternal journey of the soul, which is embodied in this human form. We have seen so far that at birth, we were born as that bundle of joy, along with joy, peace, happiness, likes, dislikes, skills, talents, and many more components. Events unfold in our life for us to use all of this baggage that we carry. And these events are predestined, which are fruits of our past actions, right? So those are past choices which are unfolding now, and the choices we make today, right now, at every given moment, that determines the blueprint for our future lives. Now think about this for a minute. Listen carefully. The most valuable math you can learn is how to calculate the future cost of your current decisions. Let that sink in. So today's exploration is going to be on these choices and how we can use this superpower to lay the stepping stones on our leadership path. So as visitors in this universe, we are bound by the universal laws, right? These are the universal laws. That's a cosmic harmony. There's a rhythm in place. And our choices also should be aligned to maintain that harmony. We literally live inside this beautiful cosmic clock, if you would. And imagine how orderly and disciplined even the celestial bodies are. The sun tells us the time. As it seemingly moves through the sky, it creates shadows that fall on particular places on the dial, which tells us what the time is. And similarly, the phases of the moon, right from the new moon to the full moon, it goes into a predictable pattern of 29 and a half days. And this lunar cycles, these are used to create calendars even today in India. And all the stars, so we saw the sun, moon, stars, even the stars tell us the month that we are in. The constellations that were visible in the summer months, they appear much earlier in the evening sky in the winter months. So these components, they function in an orderly manner, and because of which we experience predictability, we live in harmony, we know the rhythm of we know the cycles that are coming in, and so that's this beautiful cosmos. Now, failure to live in harmony quickly spirals into a chaos. And can you imagine if the sun decided, today's Sunday, I think I should take off. Today it's a holiday. I'm not just going to show up. The sun doesn't do that. Of course not. It never happens. These elements, they show up unfailingly, almost teaching us that even we should follow our assigned roles and responsibilities absolutely unfailingly, just like how they do. Now, as we take on our roles and responsibilities, we have to not only infuse it with a lot of love, but also be present, be mindful. I'm sure you guys have heard the story of this crew who was hired to beautify the roads. The intent was to plant trees along the highway for the numerous benefits that they offer, such as, of course, it improves the air quality, it looks beautiful, so there's an aesthetic appeal that comes along with it, it provides shades, it acts as a natural noise reduction. So this was a brilliant idea, and the environmentally conscious citizens, they voted to proceed with this project because the trees, they also absorb all the carbon dioxide that is released by the cars, and they in turn release more oxygen for the humans. So this is a win-win situation, no-brainer. And the project was awarded to a local contractor who brought his crew to the job. And there were 3 people diligently working on it. Bonnie would dig a hole, Mike would plant the trees, and then Ingrid would cover the hole and just beautify the whole thing. And this handoff continued. Amazing time management and project execution skills. They were almost like 3/4 of the project completed, and everybody applauded them for their teamwork. Until one day when Mike was not on site. Bonnie and Ingrid were so laser focused on their jobs, which by the way, they did it very diligently. They knew they had to dig a hole. Ingrid knew he had to cover the hole. Never mind that Mike didn't show up. They continued digging, covering up, digging, covering up, digging, covering up. And this continued for the whole day, but there were no trees planted. They were busy, all right, but were they productive? Of course not. Something in the circuit had broken. So just like that road crew, our inner crew of the body, mind, intellect, that has to be aligned in a specific sequence too. They all have to work in tandem with each other. And even if one of them drops out, there's a break in this circuit. And you don't need an electrical engineer to come fix this circuit, but you just need to employ your presence of mind and be mindful. And if our efforts are misaligned, then we are not productive. So just like the crew, we may be very, very, very busy entire day, but if you're not making any progress towards a goal, what good is it? Right? So we all have these tools available to us to live in peace and harmony. We must just make sure that each tool is not only accessible, but we should know how to use the tool. So let's keep that in mind, how to keep this circuit intact. And let's say if your mind is distracted or it's not present, sometimes it is lost. It's lost in the fears from the past or the anxieties about the futures or compulsive thoughts seemingly you just have no control over. Now, your body may still continue to receive the inputs from the sensory organs because they don't have a choice. You are just constantly bombarded with that input. And if your mind is not present, it doesn't even register for it to take it back to the intellect where all the decision making happens, right? So if your emotional and contextual filter is missing, then it's not that productive. So what happens as a result? Actions get executed, but they lack the wisdom, relevance, or purpose. It's like Mike and Ingrid. It's like digging those holes, filling them up. So you're busy, but you're not productive. And life just goes on an autopilot because we're not even aware that our mind is missing in this whole equation. So as a result, then that's when we start reacting rather than responding. That's when we either overthink or underfeel because the brain and the heart are just like disconnected. And we act without awareness of intention. So mindfulness is definitely a crucial ingredient whose presence ensures that all teams are present, tuned in, and in sequence. So it allows the mind to anchor in the present moment, process those sensations wisely, take it back to the intellect, let that intellect make the discrimination, like what do I do, what not to do. So you're consciously working on those decisions, and then those are relayed back through the mind to your organs of action. So you are responding, you're not reacting. And when this body, mind, tool, and intellect, when these tools are in harmony, every action becomes intentional, joyful, and aligned with inner peace. So that's what our goal is. That's the goal, is to discover and revel in that pristine state of bliss that we are born with. And in this human birth, we have the tools, we have the roadmap for following this self-discovery. But if you do a checks and balances, you can see that there are so many leakages right here, which we can fix. For example, do we know our identity as a bundle of joy? Do we have clarity on our purpose and goal? Are we aware of the tools we've been provided? And you may have the tool, but if you don't know how to use it, what good is it? Is the tool accessible to you the moment you want it? Right? What good is it to say, oh yeah, I've got it somewhere in the back of my car, but the car is not with me? That doesn't do any good. And so as a result, we often blame, yeah, that's, God's wish. In Marathi, we have a famous Shrinche Ichha. We just hold up our hands and say, well, this was God's wish. Don't blame God. Don't push your responsibilities and decisions that you've got to make on God. Like we pray to God, send me help, and I hear help, send me help, give me patience and give it to me right now. But who can really help you? Only you can help yourself. You've all probably heard the story of the pious man who had a lot of faith in God. And once he faced rising flood and then he prayed to God for rescue, please save me, save me, save me. And soon enough, a neighbor in a truck offered the man a ride and asked him to join in, but he declined. He's like, nope, God's going to save me. And then the waters rose, and then this man was forced to go up on the rooftop. And as he was going, there was a boat that went by, and the occupants offered to pull him in and saying like, come on, join us in. And he refused, like, no, thank you. God's going to save me. Now he reaches the rooftop. And finally, even the floodwaters reach the roof, and there's a helicopter hovering around. And the crew, the pilot lowered down the rope ladder and saying, come on, we can pull you in. And the man waved like, nope, I'm good. I've got, God's on my side. And he was waiting for God to save him. End of the story, the man eventually drowns and dies. And upon reaching heaven, he approached God and demanded to know, how come you didn't save me? I had so much faith in you. And God calmly replied, I sent you a truck, a boat, and a helicopter. What more do you expect? So read the signs smartly. Don't just have blind faith, but be smart in your approach. Yes, the God or the universe or call it whatever you want. We have been provided with all the tools. Now put them to smart use. You have smart gadgets, use your gadgets smartly. So what are smart choices? Choices that are in alignment with our roles and responsibility. Most importantly, be decisive. Because even inaction is a choice that bears its own consequences. So often you just get stuck in analysis paralysis, and you don't make any progress. You're just stuck right there, and choose progress over perfection. I had to learn this lesson in such a hard manner. My coach literally framed this for me. Choose progress over perfection. We've heard it so many times, and yet even a momentary lapse and forgetfulness costs us a lot of choices. Now, know that uncertainty is a natural part of life. Accept it. Embrace it joyfully. Our worth isn't defined by how perfect our choices are. And some days we need to make tough choices. So use your dharmic choices as a litmus test to assess what choices should I make. The question I ask myself always is it in accordance with my role and responsibility? Is it my time and space now to step up to it and make a choice? And have you infused it with as much love as you can pour into it? Is it in harmony with your nature? Because not all of us think alike. Nature meaning both internally and externally. And even married couples do not always make similar choices because our texture of the mind is different for two different individuals. So it all depends on your comfort levels. And know that it is A-okay not to have all the answers right now. Just take one step at a time and be gentle on yourself, because choices you make have ripple effects on its impact. I'm sure you guys have heard this quote that says, you must make a choice to take a chance or your life will never change. If we always did what we always did, we will always get what we always got. And then you wonder, why does your life not change? Right? So chance, change, and choices, these are all very intricately related. Now, don't settle for being comfortably uncomfortable in your situation. Personal growth and transformation requires deliberate decisions, embracing opportunities, and adapting to new circumstances. Even leaders at the highest level of the organizations, they grapple with choices and exercising those. It's a muscle that can be developed slowly but surely. And once you get on this transformation journey, it's really hard to go back to how things used to be. For starters, things are always changing. So don't expect situations, people, places, relationships to remain static. Nope. They keep on changing. So us clinging to that past does no good. It's a complete waste of time. Secondly, choose your heart. Sometimes our circumstances, I agree, are extremely challenging. And so many people, they don't want confrontation. They avoid ruffling any feathers and let it be status quo. But you were not meant to shrink for fitting in the room. Shrinking to fit the room then becomes the new norm. Being silenced and sidelined becomes the new norm. Not speaking up either for yourself or for others also, because it's easier to just avoid those confrontations. That becomes the new norm. And slowly and surely we start living in fear, and that fear gets normalized. That's what's happening right now. Ever since COVID, we've started normalizing this fear, anxiety, and worry. And that's one of my goals, is to stop normalizing that and start showing up. Trust me, this is not how we were designed to be. Fearlessness, or what we call as abhayata, that is our core quality, because the soul is indestructible. And if we live by that conviction, why would we fear anyone or anything? Throughout the history of India, we have numerous stories of conquerors who invaded the country, looted India of all its wealth, but they could not touch the people's indestructible spirits. Many, many, many great conquerors have time and again commented on what is it that these wise sages and people know in India that just gives them that fearlessness. And personally, for me, being in this transformational leadership field throughout my entire career, I can definitely vouch for that sense of freedom that comes with those choices. Imagine how would you feel if your leaders were constantly in a state of indecisiveness, right? We quickly label them as weak leaders. Or if their decisions were not aligned to the vision and the mission of the organization, or sometimes the country, we see a huge dip in their approval ratings. So again, if it's not in alignment, it's chaotic. So in order to lead during these times of uncertainty, we applaud all those leaders who lean in, who share their vision, share their insights. In the corporate world, we call that transparency, and whose choices are in the best interest of whom they serve. And you don't need a title to be a leader. Once at an all-employee meeting in McKesson, I used to work there, the CEO asked us to raise our hands if we were the leader in the company. And you look around, few hands went up, the managers, VPs, SVPs, the C-suite, all of them raised their hands. And he immediately shot back and sent a clear message that each one of you is a leader. I want to see the entire room hands up. And with or without a title, imagine how he empowered the entire organization right then and there to step up their game and show up as leaders. It's been 15 years since then, but there was no turning back for me from that point on. So today I invite you to show up with the same leadership mentality. Serve yourself first before you serve others, because you can never pour from an empty cup. So take care of yourself. Give yourself permission to be the best version of yourself that you are meant to be. Don't settle. Please, please don't just settle. One life, one chance. Take chances and make changes to transform not just your life, but everyone whom you impact with or without your knowledge. Remind yourself and pick up that leadership label and stick it on your pickle jar with pride. That's one label you can carry with pride. I am a leader. And you don't need to be you don't need to shrink to be wise, nor do you need to rage to be powerful. You just need to be the real you, not the assumed or the misidentified you. And you know who you are. Now, show up in your most authentic version. Choose yourself, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when no one else understands it. Nobody else needs to. You are all that matters. For the longest time, up until now, we as women, we've prioritized everybody else over our own needs. So now it's time to break that cycle. Be that legacy maker. Be the cycle breaker. Rewrite your story with the choices that you exercise. Try this simple advice. Decide what kind of a life you actually want. And then say no to everything else that doesn't line up with what you are seeking. Even such a small change can make a huge impact. Thank you so much. So if this episode resonates with you, please like or follow the channel and share it with somebody else who may also benefit. And leave me a comment or send me an email at maneesha@myatra.vip. And as always, let's close with a reminder of the Shanti part that reminds us how complete we are, how you are enough, you are complete, you are infinite. This entire universe, we are the universe. Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. See you in 2 weeks again. Bye-bye.